everybody. Welcome to City Girls Pod. And this is a show where we break down episodes of Sex in the City and so much fun. And today we are starting season 6. I cannot believe it. It's the final countdown, the final season. And I am film critic Rachel Wagner, and Jax is here.
Hello.
And we have a special guest with us. Caileigh Scott is here. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is great. And so your first time on the pod, so why don't you introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure. I'm Caileigh Scott, very long time friend of Jax from, I don't know, I guess I won't say the year, but like a long time ago. And I'm an actor, writer, comedian.
Great. Well, welcome. We're so
I
excited.
have a good little claim to fame of Caileigh at Sex and the City. Well, first of all, Caileigh is a very Sex and the City gal, the lifestyle she leads, but she also went on a date with someone who has appeared in Sex and the City. Am I allowed to say that?
Oh.
Yeah, you can. I forgot about that. Yeah.
I didn't.
Well, you set it up is the other part of it.
Are you going to tell us who it is?
I think Jax should.
Oh, yeah. Tell us.
You set it up.
In the episode where Charlotte and the gals go to the Hamptons and she meets, I think it's like Valley of the 30-something women, 20-something women. I forget the title of the episode. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
The young gentleman that Charlotte gets crabs from, who the Caileigh went on a date with, his name is Anson Mount. He taught at the acting studio we worked at, and I saw him in Crossroads, Britney Spears. I was like, oh, he's so cute. And then I was like, who is like a ridiculously good looking and fun and wildly charming friend that I could set him up with? And it was Caileigh. And they had a really nice date.
We did. It was one date.
One date. More than I've had with anybody for Sex in the City. So
fair enough. It was like a 17-degree day, and I walked in and I felt like I just had like snot frozen to my face. And I felt like it looked like, you know how you can win like coffee with a celebrity and it goes to charity sort of a thing?
Right. Yeah.
That I felt like I won one of those. Like it didn't, like that's what I felt like it looked like to people because he was so handsome and like not frozen. And I just felt like one of these things is not like the other. Like there was some sort of incongruous thing happening with like, why is she here? But yeah, no, we had a really nice time. It was not a match, but we had a really good time.
That's fun. That's great. Well, have you always been a big Sex and the City fan then?
I have. I remember seeing the summer before it came out, like seeing the billboards in the city and being very, as a Sarah Jessica Parker fan from this random movie called If Lucy Fell. I was super excited about it. Probably too young to be excited for it, but was very excited about it.
That's great. Yeah. Do you feel like you are one of the girls more than the others that
yes,
you're more similar to?
Yeah. Well, I would say I have had, and I take this as the highest compliment, but also like the purest comparison. I have had multiple gay men tell me I am the most Carrie person that they've ever met. So I think that's probably, I think Jax would agree. I think
you are.
I'm a Carrie, but like plot twist this year, should I mention the Sam thing? Yeah. So plot twist. I was actually diagnosed with breast cancer earlier this year. So there's like a hint of Sam in my life now.
Because that's coming up.
It is coming up.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Coming up soon. Well, I hope everything's going as well as can be expected with treatments and everything.
It is. It's not too bad.
Good.
You know, I'm lucky that it's not been too rough for me so
good.
far. I mean, like, knock wood.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's dive in. We're talking about the first 3 episodes of season 6. And we have the first episode called To Market. And the episode starts out with Carrie rushing to Wall Street to ring the opening bell of Wall Street, and on behalf of her publishers, I think. And then we also have her first real date with Berger. And then we have more drama going on with Miranda and Steve, with Miranda finally admits that she's in love with Steve, and then also Charlotte continuing on her quest to marry Harry and become a Jew. So a lot of other stuff going on, but overall, Jax, what did you think of this episode?
I mean, this opening sequence, I think all New Yorkers can relate to. I'm usually not doing something as glamorous as like ringing the bell at the stock exchange, but especially during my babysitting, personal assisting, like working for the acting studio days where I had to be multiple places. It's that thing that you're like, okay, well, if I take the cab, will that be faster? No, I'm just going to walk or run. No, take the subway. And watching Carrie do that in heels was just Caileigh, right? Like mind boggling. And I was so anxious for her, but she made it. So I started off the episode just in a state of like utter panic and anxiety, but I love this one. I said it before, we know where it goes with Berger, but I'm really hot on this relationship in this episode. I just think he's so charming, and I just don't know. I wish it could have worked out.
Yeah, I feel like Ron Livingston should be a romantic lead. He's so good.
I know. There's something like very comforting about him. Like he's not like an intimidating hot. He's like an accessible, handsome.
Yeah. I think I said that last time. He's normal attractive.
Yeah, it's nice.
I really want Ron Livingston to listen to these episodes and have Rachel be like normal attractive and Caileigh like accessible hot.
No, it's true. Like, it actually wasn't on this one. Where I was recording with my friend Amber, and we were talking about Peter Porte is like upper level attractive, like insanely attractive. And then I can't remember who the other person was that we were like, that's normal attractive.
Yeah. And
it's true.
And it's like normal attractive is a little, I don't know. That's what you want. Or I think that's like, that's who you see yourself with. Like, you don't see yourself with, or I didn't see myself with Anson Mount, you know, I was like, I'll go on a date, but that's not who I'm going to end up with.
Yeah. Wasn't Anson Mount, wasn't he on Star Trek?
Yeah.
I feel like for some reason I think Star Trek.
Oh yeah. It's like every time Rachel and I do these episodes, Rachel will look on IMDb and see like who co-starred and guest starred. And every time they're always consistently working actors. And it's like, yeah, they're all doing it. Yeah.
They're all out there.
They're all out there.
Yeah.
He was also on like a rugged show.
He was on Star Trek. Yeah, a bunch of different Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek New Worlds, Star Trek Short Treks, a bunch of Star Trek stuff. So that's where I know him.
Funny.
But not that I'm like the queen of Star Trek or anything, but I do watch Discovery. So yeah, do you think it would be fun to ring the bell, the stock exchange?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I do. It's so sad. I had an opportunity to not like do it myself, but to be part of a group that was doing it. And I can't remember why. I had like a legitimate conflict. Like I had something where I was like, I actually can't even reschedule this to do this. And then that was 2019, and then the pandemic happened. So I haven't been asked it. And I wasn't even really asked. It was just sort of a like, hey, it was a friend who worked for a congresswoman, and she was like, we're doing this. Do you just want to be part of the group? And I was like, I do, but I couldn't be. But I do think it would be fun.
Yeah, I think it would be fun just to feel the energy in the room. I think it would be kind of cool to be part of it. But then all the girls go out for lunch, and they all have kind of I would say sort of a bohemian look in this scene. You've got Samantha with an orange jacket and the kind of almost bell bottom looking pants, and then Miranda's wearing a blue and green dress that's split down the middle, blue and green, and Carrie's wearing a pink top and a scarf on her head, pink.
She's really rocking the scarves in every way for like season 6.
It was like what, 2003, 2004? Yeah.
Yeah, this was 2003.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the fashion, it was an interesting time for fashion.
It was. We'll get to it, but I have a look that I have so many thoughts on later.
So then we have Charlotte going to lunch with Carrie. Charlotte going to lunch with Harry, and Harry orders pork, and he says, "I'm not kosher. I'm not kosher. I'm conservative." And so yeah, he is pretty lenient, as a lot of Jewish people are, as far as those rules. But Charlotte, if she's gonna convert, she's gonna convert. Like, and I mean, this is why I'm probably the most like Charlotte. I can understand that, because I sometimes can be too like black and white. Like, if I'm doing it all the way. Like, just, it doesn't make sense to kind of half do it. But we see when she has to give up Christmas, that's very sad. That would be hard.
I know.
Yeah. But I have to say, I did learn, I think, a lot during the pandemic, because I was just, my life was just so used to a certain, as far as religion, a certain way of doing things. And I had done that my whole life. And then all of a sudden, church is canceled for over a year. And I had to kind of figure out a new way to do things. And I don't know, I just kind of realized that I didn't have to do it the way I had done it for so long. That I could be a little more flexible. So that's something I'm still kind of working through it, to be honest, like what kind of my new routine is, and what kind of I feel like I still haven't quite figured it out.
And that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, we're recording this on a Sunday. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was saying, without the pandemic, it's not like anything, it's not a journey you would have embarked on without sort of impetus. Yeah,
like we're recording this on a Sunday, and in my past life, I would never have done that. But I got used to doing it during the pandemic, and I realized, I'm like, it's fine. There's no problem. Like, it's okay. I can do it. I don't know. So that's been kind of an interesting experience. But I can relate to Charlotte though here, where she's trying to do it right. And I think also because she feels like if she kind of half bakes this conversion, people will be critical of it. Oh, you were only doing it for Harry. She's like, no, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to really do it.
Yeah. And I think there's sort of like a straight A student within her always, where she, like, she really wants to excel at it. And I also think like it would be hard. I'm really emotionally attached to Christmas. I'm not super religious, but I'm like very emotionally attached to just the entire season.
Yeah.
And I do understand, because he says we can like find something, and, we can find a compromise. Like a lot of Jewish people have Christmas, or, like have interfaith households. But I could understand why she would be like, no, I have to leave it behind. Like, I can't even have like a little bit of it, because it's almost more sad than just fully embracing the new path.
This is more the next episode, but if you want to read a fun book that kind of takes on these topics, it's called The Matzah Ball. It's a really cute book about this woman who is Jewish, and she grows up where her father is a rabbi, and she secretly has this career writing Christmas novels.
Oh my God, I love that.
It's really fun. Yeah, I liked it a lot. It was very funny and sweet. And she gets assigned to actually write a Hanukkah book. And and they think that the publishers think, oh, she's going to be super excited about it and glad. And she's like, no, everyone's going to know then that I have this secret past, the secret thing. And she has like a whole office just with Christmas decor and Christmas stuff. And she's like, don't go in there, It was fun. A fun read. I recommend it. But anyway.
Welcome to the Pilot Podcast. My name is BJ.
And my name is Me Too. And we promise this promo is worth it, so please don't skip ahead.
We're two judgy friends who put our judgmental skills to work for you. We review the pilot episodes of new and popular shows, and shows that our listeners request to answer your question, should I watch this?
Look, a lot of us are spending a lot more time at home, and yes, we should be reading and trying new projects and enriching ourselves, but does anything beat binging a great show?
Let us take the guesswork out of deciding what your next show will be. Tune in to The Pilot Podcast at thepilotpodcast.com.
So Miranda, she ends up with poo all over her, and she doesn't even know. She's just in this rough place. And I guess in season 5, both Cynthia Nixon and Sarah Jessica Parker were both pregnant. I didn't realize that both of them were. I knew that SJP was, but so this all must have really like rang true for her. Miranda's stress of dealing with this baby, and she's literally a new mom herself.
Yeah, I won't lie. The poo on the face is very visceral every time to watch, and she's smearing it everywhere. And I watched a lot of babies, and I've gotten poop a lot of places, but never on my face.
Never. No. It's usually not so, liquidy, not to be gross. It's usually not so to get on your face.
I honestly have to kind of like cheat a little through that scene. Like I can't, because I know it's coming now, and I can't just like breathe into it. I have to. I'm like, I get it.
We know. And like Steve's eating, like
I know. And I ride horses, I muck stalls, but that it's still, there's something about that on her face that I cannot do.
Yeah. But Steve's the best. And he's grossed out, but he's also the best.
Supportively grossed out. Yeah.
And so then Miranda realizes, because he's so great, I'm in love with Steve. And she says, I looked over at him and realized we belong together. So that's,
she realized what everyone has been telling her and what we've been saying as an audience, and what even she has said, but just not in those many words,
Right.
Caileigh, did you watch And Just Like That?
I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't. I was going to, and then when I found out the spoiler of the first, I was like, I'm good. So
it's not the best, but especially what they did with Steve. Steve is especially justice for Steve.
I heard, and I think, I heard that he sort of came across as like a 90-year-old man, and it's and it's like the he in real life has a hearing issue, and that's like not, I don't know. It just sounded from what I heard that they weren't really portraying that in the most thoughtful way.
Yeah, they made him just seem like totally clueless, which was frustrating.
Yeah.
So Samantha is getting upset about her neighborhood changing, and when the Pottery Barn comes, she's, no, and then she meets Victor Webster. Could you believe that, Jax?
I know with him.
What?
Holy, the hot. Well, oh my gosh, that is
the hot Wall Street guys. Totally Victor Webster.
He looks so young.
Yeah.
I mean, that was 20 years ago or whatever. Wow, he's aged well, and he looked good then. Holy my goodness gracious.
He did look good. It is so weird to watch that now, 20 years on, that scene, because that neighborhood is like so trendy and gentrified. And just to forget, like, or remember that it was in a totally different place when they were filming that, and her reaction to it.
She's in the meat market, right?
Meat packing, which is like, which is now where everybody goes out. Super expensive, super trendy. It's everything she was talking about, like all the designer stores and everything, but it's just been that way for so long. I'm like, oh, right. There was a point in time where that neighborhood was not that.
Well, so then the girls are eating lunch, and you see Samantha, and she's wearing this strange shirt with a boat neck collar and bananas on it. Bananas all along the collar. I was like, what? What is that? I don't know. I thought it was a weird look.
I thought I was having an out-of-body experience for a second. I was like, I was honestly looking at it like I'm not sure what I'm looking at. I don't even hate it. I just don't even know what I'm looking at.
I know, like a
Weird.
friend had like an Andy Warhol bag with a banana on it, and I didn't know if it was like that. I don't know. I don't know what that was.
It was a weird look at that. Then we have Carrie saying, "Are the stock market and dating, are they that different?" I hope so, but it feels, I don't know. It's a mess. It's so hard. You should be so glad, Jax, that you're out of it. Out of the dating world. It's the worst.
I think it is interesting how the whole like way that they assign value and like how that compares to the stock market.
Right.
That was sadly, I think, accurate to modern dating.
Well, and so this Victor Webster guy, he gives Samantha tips. And it turns out he gives lots of people tips because he gets in trouble in the end. But what do you think of Carrie going on the Simu date? That was, I thought, really funny.
Okay. That dude, I was watching it alone. And usually I don't laugh out loud unless I'm with other people. Like, I don't know, like a communal experience. Because his physical comedy in this scene is so spot on. And it's so the energy that I felt like I brought into a lot of dates when I was nervous. Like pratfalls and get stuff in his thigh, knock the table over. I mean, it was.
Well, and then the bird.
Yes, I know the bird.
It was so funny.
I just really feel for both of them. Like, it's just like one of those scenes where you're like, I am in my body. I am physically uncomfortable in my own body right now, though I am like in my own home, not living this. But I think we've all been either side. I think I've been both sides. I know I've been both sides of that. I've been him, but I've also been her, where you're like, I don't want to be rude, but this is not going well.
Caileigh, remember when we were both on the same date where we were both sides of that? Caileigh and I went on like a pseudo, a guy that I went on a date with that I want to hook Caileigh up with. We went over to his apartment under the guise that she was going to dog sit for him. And then, Caileigh, why don't you say what happened when we got there? Because it wasn't a real date because we were both there.
It was not a real date at all. Well, so much happened. I don't know which thing.
He is so hot though. Man bun, so gorgeous. He is male model.
He is similar in aesthetic to an Anson Mount. Well, his couch was wet because he had just cleaned it. And then Jackie kept trying to, I don't know which thing you're talking about, but Jackie kept trying to give us like alone time. It was a studio apartment. So we're like sitting there talking and Jackie's like, I'll be right back. And like went into a closet and then was there for a long time. And I was like, what's in there? Like, what is that? Is that the bathroom? And he was like, nope, no, that's the utility closet. And I was like, oh, okay. What's in there? And he's like literally mops. Like, I don't know. And then Jackie came out like doing a bit with like,
that's funny.
Fully convinced we would be making out, and we were both just sitting there like, what's happening?
I was like, how would they not like decide to get married by now?
Well, and I'm just thinking like that's my nightmare is having a bird on your head. And it reminds me of so I'm not the most comfortable when it comes to animals. It takes me a while to like warm up to them and then I love them and they're great. But strange animals I am a little comfortable around and especially like birds. I don't love birds. And anyway, and so on my mission, these kids decided this was going to be a big joke, that they thought it would be really funny to like scare me. And so they decide that they're going to throw their bird in my face, like, whew, and all of a sudden there's like bird is coming towards me and I'm like, ah!
Oh my God.
So I practically almost had a panic attack because it was just upsetting. And I mean, and I felt bad for the bird and it was just not a good situation. And they felt really bad after because they thought it was just like a little goof and it was not. And so I always, any kind of bird around your face, like that's not a good space.
That's not a little goof. That's really messed up.
Well, like you said, it's like trauma for you, trauma for the bird. Like that's just all bad.
It's bad. So this was, I thought, very funny and ridiculous. But we have Charlotte telling Harry she might not be able to have kids. That was a very sweet scene. And Harry tells her he loves her. And I kind of like that they not having anybody be cynical about Charlotte and Harry. They're just letting her have, because I feel like they're probably in real life, one of these girls would probably be like, you're getting into this really fast. But I feel like we just need it. We need just a sweet romance for her character.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think in real life too, I mean, Jackie can attest. I think her friends would have been like, you are physically mismatched. Like that is just something, like a conversation that would have happened. I think there would have been a lack of like not getting it, maybe once they got to know him, they would have been like, he's super sweet and he treats you really well and we totally get it. But I can understand. I think in reality, there might have been like, it would have felt jarring more jarring for them to like see the match. But yeah, it's nice. She deserves it. I mean, she's very privileged, but she had a terrible marriage. So
yeah,
she deserves it.
And especially knowing that this is the last season, so they have to kind of get it all together for her. I'm just glad they just let her have a sweet fairy tale kind of romance with Harry, who I love.
It's like an interesting sort of thing of your fate or your destiny, or just having faith and things will work out, because it's like she's just come from this relationship that was really devastating, and she had all those grand ideas of a soulmate and what marriage means. And then I think for her to get divorced, it was more devastating for her than it would have been for any of the other girls. But then the fact that she gets with her divorce attorney, it's just like, you know what? Sometimes we don't know what's going to happen. Just have faith and trust that something will work out.
Yeah.
Right.
So then Steve and Miranda go on a date, and Steve says, I'm not in love with you anymore. And he's seeing someone else. So that was tough. And then Carrie, she says goodbye to Berger after the date and runs into Aiden, who has a baby on him. Just like, you have a baby
Jackie.
It's just crazy. Okay, because I don't want children, but there's something about her seeing Aiden with the baby. And I think that it's a very relatable thing to unexpectedly run into someone, whether it's an ex or not, that just brings up these emotions. And every time I watch this scene, it gets me.
It's like, because the possibility, like anytime you run into an ex, if you're single, you don't know if you don't know where they're at, there is like the possibility in the air, like maybe we were meant to run into each other. But when he turns around with the baby, it's like, well, this is a different story.
Yeah.
Also, there's something about like a very rugged man like Aiden with a baby. Like I also don't want children, but I'm like, oh, like I'm into that visual specifically.
That's cute. Yeah. Well, and he's always such a sweet guy that you could imagine being a good dad, and that's attractive.
Yeah,
that's
very. Yeah.
Well, what would you give this episode 1 to 10? What do you think, Caileigh?
I'm gonna give it a 7. I think it hit like a lot of good fashion wise. I have a lot of like thoughts.
Banana shirt. Lose a point for the banana shirt.
Definitely like points come off for the banana shirt. And I know we were doing like slips over jeans back then, but like that is so atrocious. But I think it brought, it was a strong, I think in terms of an opener, it brought back a couple of familiar faces. And for being the final season opener, I think smartly set up a lot of plots. So that is my rating with, but there were some weaknesses. So overall strong, but 7 out of 10.
What do you think, Jax?
Yeah, I'm right around there too. I would think I'd probably give it a 7.5, but I do give minuses for the poo and the bananas. So
Yes.
what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. So the next episode is called Great Sexpectations. And basically the plot is you have them all go into this vegan restaurant, and this is where we meet Smith. He's the hot waiter that everyone's eating this terrible food to be with. And then we also have Carrie and Berger. They finally get together, and it's not great, and she can't figure it out. So what did you think, Jax, of this episode overall?
I mean, even though he is not my type in any sense, the word, I mean, he's everyone's type, but I'm not really attracted to men who look like Smith. And they're not attracted to me, so that's not a problem. I'm not into it. No, but that hyper masculine thing, I don't really go in for, but I love him. I think it's also because I know where his character goes. I know how genuine he is. I think he's an incredible actor, just everything about it. So this episode for me, I just love it. I just feel so excited to get him on the scene finally. And I think there's a lot of fun stuff in this episode too, with the chemistry and the banter between Carrie and Berger, and then having it, whoa, how does this not translate to the better?
Yeah, and not just bad once, bad twice, which is not great. No. Well, we also have Miranda in a relationship with her TiVo.
Well, I think we all can relate to that.
Oh yes.
So, but I think
especially like 2 years into a pandemic. I mean,
yeah,
me and my television are very, very close.
And when Steve fixes the TiVo and brings back her, what did they call that show? Did I write it down? Her show, Jules and Mimi.
Right.
He brings back Jules and Mimi. I mean, yeah, that's a big win. When if somebody could do that, if you lost something on your DVR and you can't get it back, I mean, you're right, especially during the pandemic.
Yeah,
you needed that binge.
Yeah,
we are seeing way more product placement in season 5 and season 6, though. Almost every episode has something. And here's the TiVo episode. So Carrie tries to get sort of sexy and look sexy, and I know shoes are her thing, but I feel like it's a weird thing to have sexy, because I don't know, I just feel like it would be weird to wear shoes in bed.
I also think, like, know your audience. Like, if we're talking about Berger,
yeah, that's true.
I don't know. Like, I get what she was going for. Like, okay, we clearly need to throw something into this because, like, it's not translating. I wouldn't pin Berger as being the guy that would be specifically into that. Like, and that maybe that's just a bigger comment on like communication versus trying to guess. But yeah, I thought it was weird for Berger. If it was Big, I would be like, yeah, that's probably right. Like, you could probably wear those shoes and Big would be into it. But Berger, no.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. We also have Charlotte. She's really trying to become a Jew. She tries to talk to the rabbis, and they are not into it. They're not listening to her. She finally knocks on their door and ends up going to eating, I think it's Sabbat that they're having, and ends up joining them. And she's supposed to meet Harry, and she gets the notice, and she's like, it'll be fine, I'm staying here. That was funny.
She really committed.
Yeah.
I've as a non-Jewish person who has been to Shabbat dinner, I do appreciate her commitment to I mean, her motives were different than mine. I was not trying to convert, but yeah, she really went for it. in a big way. And you gotta love her for it.
I feel
I
like
think.
I love that. I do think that it's definitely motivated by Harry, but I do like that she's really trying to appreciate it, Judaism as a religion, as a culture. Like I remember I took a Yiddish theater seminar and I wrote a porn play and I was like, should I convert? Should I do it?
Yeah.
And then, I was, because I think it's just so fascinating to immerse yourself in a culture that isn't your own. But yeah, Charlotte, she's really it. And then we see it does go beyond Harry when they break up for a little bit and she's still exploring it. But yeah, it's interesting to see it all shake out.
And I think it was really important for the character because you shouldn't do anything for just for a relationship. That's super unhealthy. So it was nice to see her genuinely Judaism is beautiful and her to sort of genuinely fall in love with it. And even when they later took a break, for her not to just be like, oh, well, I just trying that on for him. Because that would have been so toxic if it was something that she didn't genuinely feel for herself.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it partly, I think, does depend a little bit about how invested you are in your religion. That if you're, and you shouldn't only do it for your spouse, but like, if you, I think that's fine being part of the motivation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she didn't come, she wasn't like connected to her own faith very much.
And they call her Episcopalian Charlotte, but I don't know. I've never seen her wear crosses or I've never gotten the impression that she's like super religious.
No, I felt like my impression of them was always, sort of clean slates, which is why it was very interesting to watch her explore religion because it didn't seem like any of them were connected. And that's why I think it would be even almost worse for her to just like put it on like a hat without any sort of connection to it.
Have either of you been to a raw restaurant like this raw place?
I don't know if I've been to like a raw. I've been to like 100% vegan restaurants, but I think I've been to raw food restaurants, but they're not only raw food.
Yeah, I've been to vegan. That's true. I've been to vegan, but was also had raw stuff. And I ordered this bowl of noodles and I thought that's pretty safe. It's not going to be disgusting. Oh my gosh. It was so disgusting.
Oh no.
It was cold. It was like cold noodles. I mean, and that just makes it kind of slimy and cold. It was not
I
for
like
me.
the way, Rachel, I feel so bad. You're like, what is the least offensive thing that I can get on this menu? And then you're like, okay, it's just like worms.
Oh God.
It was so gross. I mean, I loved the whole scene with Samantha and this other woman, them fighting it out, and then her saying, what do we say? I buy your dinner and call it a night. That was great. I really enjoyed it.
I loved it. And I love that the woman was just like, yeah.
Yeah, and she's eating that the grass soup. It tastes like grass in a shot. Yeah, that's so gross.
I know. I do appreciate that they weren't like glamorized. And it's fine if someone really likes raw food. I mean, far be it for me. But I think sometimes those shows would like glamorize the latest trend. And I did appreciate that it was like awful. Yeah. And she was only there for the hot guy.
I love that scene where they were like waiting it out because I found that very relatable because there was one time in New York, it was me and one of my guy friends, and there was a girl that we both thought was cute, and we both were staying up so late at this bar trying to talk to her, and I was like, who's it gonna be? And I got so tired. I was like, I looked at him and I left, and I was like, you win this round. Not that she was a prize to be won, but I was just like, yeah. But then I left and I was like, I need to sleep.
You're like, I gotta tap out. Yeah.
Yeah. And I am glad that they then gave Smith agency in the next episode because they are all acting like they kind of own him and can manipulate him. And then in this next episode, he's like, nope, not so much. So I appreciated that. But it was fun.
That was good.
Yeah. So then we have Carrie and Berger finally talking it out, and he's saying we should be smoking, not joking. And then it ends with them finally figuring it out. So that's good. So Caileigh, what would you give this episode 1 to 10?
Oh gosh. It's hard. I feel like I think I'm also at like a 7 out of 10 because overall, I don't think I liked it as much as the first episode, but I did think that there were really strong moments. I mean, the scene in the raw food place, like that gets it so many points because that was just so well done. So yeah, like slightly better than average for me. It's not,
what do you think, Jax?
I think I am blinded by the love that I have for Smith. I'm an 8, and again, not in a way that I think he's hot. Just I'm like, what a pure spirit, and I think Samantha needs it so bad. Especially, we know what's coming for her with her breast cancer journey and how great he is. So I'm just like, he's here. So that's for me what upsets.
I mean, I think he's totally hot. He's totally gorgeous. So I think this one is actually pretty funny. If you're looking for if you're looking for laughs, this one is pretty good. So I don't know, maybe I'd give it a 7.5.
Yeah.
We'd like to take a second from this episode of the podcast to celebrate our sponsor of this episode, and that is the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast?
Do you want an inside scoop into what happens on the podcast?
Do you want early access to episodes and loads of cool perks?
Now is the time to become a patron of Hallmarkies podcast.
By becoming a patron, you get to access our patron Facebook group.
You can request episodes or even be a guest on the podcast.
And most importantly, any patron can join our monthly movie watch-alongs with stars like Paul Campbell, Natalie Hall, and more.
It's as low as $2 a month to join in and become a special part of the Hallmarkies family.
Please consider, and we will love you forever.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
Then we have our final episode, The Perfect Present. And in this episode, we have Carrie figuring out a lot about Berger's ex, his ex Lauren, and then we have Charlotte having to give up Christmas, and so that's very hard, and some more drama going on with Miranda and Steve's new girlfriend Debbie. So Carrie says there's 3 important points for a single girl: the first time you have sex, the first time you have great sex, and the first time you see a guy you're dating apartment. I mean, I'm surprised that third one is on that level, is that high, because I feel like most guys' apartments are pretty boring.
Well,
no?
I think for me, it's just like, how do you live? Like, what is the situation?
Most guys I know, they've got like their game set up, they've got a sofa, they got I mean, just pretty simple. I don't know. I don't feel like I could tell that much about a guy from their apartment for most guys.
I can't be, but if they've decorated it, then you're like, well, in this situation, who decorated it? Do they have taste, or are they like kind of living in a relic of a past relationship? Maybe they have taste. Maybe they hired a decorator. I'm also like, I like to do the like drop in because I want to know what your bathroom looks like when you don't know that I'm coming over, because I need to know how you live.
Also, I don't know. I feel like this wouldn't be true in New York, but I feel like I could tell more about a guy from their car than I could from their apartment, because I mean, and I shouldn't talk because I have an extremely messy car, because I'm always going to screenings and to plays and stuff. But if a guy has like a super fancy car or sports car, if he's like driving a used car. That's probably the used car, probably more my jam.
Mm.
I like more, but I don't know what you think, Jax, about that.
I don't know if you guys remember, there used to be a TV show that I don't even remember what it was called, but they would go into people's bedrooms before they went on a date. And then I think they would look in like 3 rooms and then pick the person to go on a date with. And they would see, like, say they would see like a book that they liked, or like maybe a guitar in the corner, and it would be looking for red flags, but also things you had in common. So yeah, I always find that fascinating. And I also think, what would people think about me?
Mm-hmm.
And for and for me, when I was dating, I would never, and Caileigh had seen all of my previous apartments and the current one, but I would never let anyone I was dating come over, or they would never want to date me. I would see their apartments, and I would say that in the hierarchy, if she makes it seem like that's the last thing that happens is sex, good sex, and then seeing the apartment, I was usually seeing the apartments way before anything was happening. Like, let me just sort this situation out.
Yeah. Oh, we all know that I like to look at a floor plan first. I look at a floor plan. I see what I think in New York too, or any big city, there's so much, like, neighborhood says a lot about someone's personality and priorities. And then the type of building that they live in says a lot about them. So like, there's so many steps in it, I think, that before you even get inside the apartment, like, is it a walk up? Is it an elevator? Does it have a doorman? Is it new? Is it a brownstone? Like, there's all of these things where I'm like, this actually tells me about, unless you just like took the first apartment that you could find, like, it tells me what you like, that you were looking for certain things. And that tells me about the person a little bit. Little apartment psychology for you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So they end up going to their old friend's party, and it's a purse party, and it's their own, and it's Jennifer Coolidge, who I absolutely love and adore. Hilarious. I mean, this did make me laugh because here in Utah, like, multi-level marketing things are everywhere. And so you constantly get invited to these kinds of parties. Usually it's not, like in this case, she'd actually designed them. But I did have one time, it wasn't multi-level marketing. There was no, it was just a one-time thing. There used to be this place in here in Utah where it was such a great idea. It was that you could have this shoe party where, I mean, Carrie would love it. And they literally would bring a whole trailer just full of shoes, and then you got a, discount if you hosted the party. But you didn't have to like sign up for any, it wasn't multi-level marketing. It was just a shoe party. And I did that twice. This was years ago, but it was so fun.
That's fun.
So that's what I thought of when I saw this. I thought of
Would you get a cut of the money, or how does that work? Okay.
No, just I get a discount on the shoes I buy, and my friends get good deals too. So.
Oh, that's great. So it's not like crazy MLM stuff. Sorry,
no.
Who likes MLM?
It's not like LuLaRoe or anything like that.
Right. Where you're like putting a lot of your own money on the line.
Yeah. It was just bring the trailer over, and it was pretty fun. I don't know if they even still do that. I doubt it, but it was a good idea. It was a fun idea, I thought. But Jennifer Coolidge is she's so funny. Oh my gosh.
So good.
That woman is a national treasure. Like, she is so funny. And every time she's on screen, I mean, it's hard to steal a scene with these women in Sex and the City. But Jennifer Coolidge, she's a scene stealer. No matter what she's in, she is just incredible.
Yeah, she's amazing. That whole, everything about it, every time she like pops on, like shows them something else. Oh, so good.
I love her so much. There's a little Disney movie called Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. And I actually think it's kind of underrated. Steve Carell's in it, Jennifer Garner. It's funny, a funny family comedy. But she plays the the DMV driver person, inspector, for the oldest child is getting trying to get his driver's license. It is hilarious. It is the best scene of her just like flipping out about everything and trying to, I don't know, you have to see it, but she's so good. And I also love her in the Christopher Guest films. She's so funny in all of those. And anyway, so she's great in here. It was really funny to see her. I actually didn't think the purses looked that bad.
I know. I don't know which the price point was, but yeah, I wasn't like terribly, if they were like $1,000 maybe, but I wasn't like terribly offended by that. Also considering like the banana shirt from earlier, and then they're talking about the purses. It's like, who, what?
Yeah, I prefer it over the. So this is when Charlotte has the Christmas tree and says she's going to take it down, and it's when Harry says it's okay. A lot of Jews have Christmas trees, and of course, I mean, we know in the Hallmark world, there's a ton of Jewish women who write Hallmark movies, Christmas movies.
Oh yeah, like two of our favorites, Nina Wyman Swift and Anna White, like who I love.
Yeah, and Julie Sherman Wolfe, she's Jewish. So there's a lot. And
so many of my Jewish friends, they're like the first people I call when I'm like, do you want to go to the tree lighting at Tavern on the Green? Because they're like, oh my God, yes, it's so beautiful.
Yeah. So Miranda gets very upset with Steve because Steve has a bunch of condoms in Brady's baby bag. And she gets really upset about that. Do you think that Miranda had a point, or did she overreact? What do you think, Jax?
I'm glad he's using condoms.
Yeah,
I don't want to have another baby. Do I think it's a little weird and jarring? Absolutely. But I kind of think it's just something that you sort of have to sit with and talk to your friends about, like, oh, this is so annoying. Ew, I don't want to think about that. And that made me have to think about it. But I don't think I would say anything to him. It's not like it's actually dangerous for the baby. I don't know. I get why it's upsetting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think if you're upset by it, like you said, you sort of have to sit with it and then maybe have a conversation with him about why it's upsetting to you, if that's the path you want to take. It's definitely annoying. It's definitely like tacky. I mean, like, do they really need to be in the baby bag? No. There's a part of me that is like, I don't know. Was he being careless, or was he, he was being safe by using condoms, but was he being careless leaving them in there? Did he want, like, I think I'm the type of person who I would spiral down. Like, did he want me to find these? Like, is he trying to?
I didn't even think of that, but that's a good point.
Well, and she's already upset with him because he was late.
Yeah.
To pick up. He was 20 minutes late. That's a lot late.
Yeah, that's like now her day is off late. Yeah.
Yeah. Like if it was just 5 minutes, even 10, then I'd understand it more.
And it's even more annoying because Debbie's car broke down. Who cares? You should have been leaving early enough so that didn't.
Mm-hmm. Right. And you're like, why is Debbie affecting me? Like, why is Debbie affecting my life? I understand, obviously, I'm getting riled. I understand her frustration. I probably would have not yelled at him about the condoms, because then it's very obvious that she cares. And if she's trying to act like she doesn't care, then she's telling on herself.
So then Big calls Carrie and they have phone sex. And then she gets upset because Lauren leaves a message on Berger's phone. So yeah, Carrie, I mean, especially when you're dealing with messy breakups and the fact that she finds out that Lauren cheated on him, you would think that Carrie, of all people, would be understanding and not be so jealous.
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky.
I think Carrie always has this, like, I think sort of this attitude that stuff with Big doesn't count.
Yes, yeah. I was trying to put that into words. You're exactly right.
Like, so like she doesn't think of it in the same way as like Lauren calling Berger, because to her, like, Big is different and special, and he's on this, like, not even pedestal all the times, but he's just on this other level in her life. And I think to her, like, he belongs in my life. So it's not the same, but it is the same. But she doesn't see that.
Yes. She does make she has like a big excuse kind of for some reason. And maybe she just knows that he's going to be endgame somehow, or the writers want us to know that. I don't know.
I think you're right. Because think about going back to, we don't see Carrie really cheating on anyone else. You know what I mean? But everything with Big, it's like she cheated when she had a partner. She was with him when he had a partner. She brought him to Aiden's cabin. Like all these things where it's like you said, Caileigh, with Big, it's always just like, this is different. And yeah, maybe it's because she always knew he was endgame and the writers knew he was endgame. And yeah, but it's kind of like, oh girl, what are you doing?
Right. It doesn't count. It doesn't count if it's Big, but she still feels the right to get upset over, like, Berger didn't engage with Lauren. He was actually really upset that he was hearing from her. She was more upset that he, it's not great, but.
Now, it's been a while since I watched this season, but Berger I thought in my memory, I thought that Berger does the post note, leaves Carrie because she gets like a promotion or something at work. And then he's jealous about the article, right?
Crunchy. Remember, is that right? She
like
feel bad about something he wrote. And then he's jealous of her.
Oh yeah.
And she's like, she says it like the scrunchie. That's how she says it.
That's right. Okay. Yeah. And so he has a Pulitzer, he says in this episode. So you think that he would not be that insecure.
I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
I was 50-50 on whether or not he was making a cute joke or if he did have a Pulitzer.
Oh.
So you read it as he did, right?
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
I did. But like artists are so insecure, like you could have an Oscar and still like have imposter syndrome. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's
interesting though, that he could have been just like being cutesy about it.
Yeah, I couldn't tell, but I was 50-50. So I wanted to ask you guys.
Well, then we also have Samantha tries to pay Smith because she feels bad that he lost his job, and he's like, nope, that's not happening. Again, that I like that they gave him agency in this episode after him being kind of a toy to all the women in the previous episode. And so then she doesn't know his name either, which is kind of, I thought was interesting. So yeah, they seem to be starting things off in an interesting way for Samantha.
I know this sounds wacky, and I know the whole thing, they're like, it's like prostitution, but there is a tiny part of me that I sort of thought it was actually considerate for Samantha to be like, oh, as someone who's been a freelancer and in the gig economy my whole life, I understand this whole thing where she's like, I actually prevented him from getting work. What is the going rate for like a really well-paid cater waiter? I'm going to pay him that because I am responsible for him getting fired. But then obviously on his end being like, what the heck?
I know of a story that doesn't involve any of these people in real life, but involves an actor, a very well-known actor, who frequented a specific restaurant in LA and would, date the staff. And so there was one, but they weren't, dating, hooking up, not relationships. And the way that sort of, I think, is should hopefully be clarified to someone is like, are you going to the person's house or are you like meeting at like Chateau Marmont? So anyway, this actor, who I think is actually a really good person, which is like almost this plot, was like hooking up with this waitress and, always like a hotel or chateau or somewhere, and was like going out of town for a job, I believe, and wanted like a clean sort of like, thank you so much, just like tie a little bow on this, and left a significant portion of cash in an envelope that said like, thank you or something. And she obviously did not take this well, like shares a basement, like the staff of this restaurant and the staff of another restaurant share a basement, which is how I know about this story from someone who worked at the other side. But anyhow, so and I think from his perspective, it was just like, you're like, I don't want to excuse anybody treating anyone like remotely like a sex worker if that is not what they are. But I think he was like, oh, you wait tables. Like maybe she was like giving up shifts to see him. Like she needs money. He has money. This is like a nice little end to this. She obviously felt like he was implying something else. And I believe she like tracked down his manager and was
really?
like, he gave me this and I do not want it. And can you please get it back to him?
Oh, wow. Yeah. I feel like it depends on the situation. Cause there's a lot of times when it would seem like it's performative, the act of giving or offering the money. It's kind of like, I don't know, when you have the back and forth of who's going to pay for dinner kind of a thing, but this is just like a higher level. And so it's like, that the person's going to say no, the person's going to offer to help you out because you just lost your job. I think that tit for tat is fine. But if it was really like, I'm paying you for, and again, like you said, that you're not a sex worker, then that gets very murky. But if it's just kind of, it's a performative, I think it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. It's like when I like reach for my wallet on a date.
Yeah.
Please stop me before I get there.
Love that you're doing the reach, but
then Carrie calls Big, and he's in the jacuzzi. I feel like this is a very iconic Big moment. And she says, jacuzzi, that's such a cliche. And he says that he says the hot tub. He says that jacuzzi is a cliche, hot tub is retro. He's in the hot tub. And Carrie says she just wants to be friends with Big. So
when Big says goodbye on this call, he really does tug at my heartstrings because you see the look on his face and he's like, call me anytime, kind of for anything. And like, see you later, kid, kind of. And you just see that Big, especially that we've seen how Big has grown up over the last like season and a half with the episode with her book and saying that he feels bad about stuff that's happened. Yeah, you just realize that he's not the man he used to be. So kind of, I don't know. I'm finally starting to have a little bit of understanding for Big that I think I didn't have before.
Yeah. It's, he is a person with feelings, and whether they're like fair always or healthy, you feel for him in that moment because he, as much as Carrie, I think, is always like Big is the exception and doesn't count. I think he had that same, like similarly had an expectation, like I can always call her, like she's always an option, and facing that that's maybe not true.
Yeah. I did think the whole thing with Carrie and the noise machine was really funny. Berger's noise machine that he got from Lauren. It reminded me of, because I'm a chronic insomniac, so I've tried everything. I've tried noise. I do have white noise that I use, and that helps. But it was really funny when I was a secretary at my old job. There was you put in a CD into whatever CD you put in would be the hold music or the other music for the answering service for the office. And my boss put in this like sounds of the forest CD or whatever, because he thought, oh, that'll be nice, people will like that. And I didn't know about it. And so I'm putting people on hold. And then I talked to the person and they're like, why was there a wolf? There was a wolf.
Oh my God.
Like, that's interesting.
It was so funny. And so I was like, Roland, they're saying there's wolves on the hold.
That is like very authentic forest.
Yeah.
Not just like the wind and some birds chirping.
Yeah,
you're
there's
right,
like
that's
owls and wolves and stuff.
Wow.
He's like, oh, maybe that wasn't a good choice. The old music. Anyway, it was really funny. But so yeah, and then Charlotte gets her first oi, which was funny.
Yep.
And then she has, I'm not sure what this particular ceremony that she does. I didn't know that the Jewish religion had like a baptism like that. I don't know. It was in some kind of baptismal type font type thing.
Mm-hmm.
I never heard of that particular ceremony, but anyway, she goes through it and she's reborn a Jew. So she can get married and it's great.
I thought that was really lovely the way they did it, where it's like she was leaving her old life behind, but then she's like, did they drain this tub after the last person? They're like, well, not all of it. And I just thought that was really sweet. Like everything about this show, watching it now and watching it in order and realizing that there's so many things that, yes, are problematic because of the time and a lack of awareness, and whether you can blame that on the time or all that stuff. But there's just some masterful writing and acting and just overall storytelling in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I would give this one actually a pretty high score. I think this is a really good episode. I think we get growth for all of the characters. It has some really funny stuff with Jennifer Coolidge and some other jokes. So I don't know. I think I'd give this a 9. I like this one.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Same. I would give it a 9 out of 10. I think it has a lot of forward movement for, it's hard. I hate to judge an episode on kind of what we know happens, but I think it has a lot of forward movement for the rest of the season and good character growth. And like you were talking about Smith having agency, like I thought that was really important. And, it's so problematic, but I do love Big. And so I just, but I appreciate Carrie's growth in kind of putting that boundary there for him, but then also Big's growth and respecting the boundary, but actually having, like a sadness about it. That it was good.
What do you think, Jax?
Oh yeah. I mean, Jennifer Coolidge is in it. And I did like what you said, Caileigh, about, and this is what is so iconic about this show. Well, you do kind of just want to look at an episode as is. I think because of what the show is and what it has become, we can't erase what we know about what happens. And I think that it does set up everything really nicely to take us on through for the rest of season 6 and everything that's going to happen with the girls. And I'm actually just so excited about it.
It's really funny. It's really sweet. It's one I think that's easy to connect with and relate to. So I think it's a good one. So, well, Caileigh, thank you so much for coming on. This was a blast. I really appreciate it.
This was so fun. I love talking about the girls. So,
well, we love to bring you back when we're talking about Samantha's cancer.
Miss Samantha.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah. I actually haven't watched that since. I did a full rewatch in 2019 when I was going through some stuff.
Sure.
So I haven't rewatched it since. So it'll be, I think, interesting now knowing so much about breast cancer that I never wanted to know. It'll be interesting to watch those for sure and see where we're similar and where we're not similar.
So where can people find you on social media, your content?
I am on Instagram at Caileigh Scott, which is CaileghScott. It is not phonetic. And I'm sometimes on Twitter. Like you can take a look and see if I'm currently there or not. It's real hit or miss, but I'm always on Instagram. And that's the best way to connect.
And Jax, where can people find you?
Jacqueline C tweets on Twitter and Jacqueline Collier on Instagram.
Great. And you can find us at City Girls Pod on Twitter. And I try to share whenever I see anything Sex and the City related on there. So take a look. And also you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. Check that out. Also make sure you're following the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod, Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave us your ratings and reviews, 5 stars. It really helps us a lot. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that. We also have our Patreon group and merch store where we have City Girls Pod merch, and we so appreciate that support too. So thanks again, Caileigh, and we'll talk to y'all later. Bye, everyone. Bye.